The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zarthik's crystalline form dimmed with fear. His species had survived 3 million years through careful diplomacy, but today he delivered news that made even the eldest councillors tremble. The Krell Dominion has broken the Treaty of Outer Rims, he announced, his voice resonating through translation fields. They've invaded the Terran colony on Epsilon 7. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. For 2 centuries, every spacefaring civilization had learned one unspoken rule: never provoke the humans. Commander Jasmine Torres stood at the observation deck of the EU's Valkyrie, her dark eyes scanning the battlefield coordinates on the holographic display. At 28, she'd already earned 3 commendations for tactical excellence. But this mission felt different. The Krell had made a catastrophic mistake, and now humanity would remind the galaxy why they were called Special Forces. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant Kevin Marshall looked up from his console, his fingers dancing across haptic interfaces. "Ma'am, we've got 60,000 Krell ground troops occupying Epsilon 7. They've taken 3,000 colonists hostage." He paused, his jaw tightening. "They're executing 10 civilians every hour until we surrender the sector." Jasmine's expression remained calm, but Kevin had served under her long enough to recognize the storm brewing behind those eyes. Humans had a peculiar trait that other species found both fascinating and terrifying. They became more dangerous when their compassion was weaponized. "How long until we reach deployment range?" she asked. 17 minutes, Commander." "Good. Transmit this message to the Krell flagship. You have 1 chance to withdraw. Release the hostages and leave Epsilon 7 within the next 15 minutes. This is your only warning." Kevin transmitted the message, though both of them knew what would happen next. The Krell were a proud warrior race, standing nearly 3 meters tall with exoskeletons that could deflect most energy weapons. They'd conquered 47 worlds in the past century. They wouldn't retreat from mere words. The response came quickly. "The humans bark but cannot bite." The Krell commander sneered across all channels. "Your colonists will die, and your precious special forces will." Jasmine cut the transmission. "Kevin, activate Protocol Reaper. Full deployment." Kevin's fingers hesitated for just a moment. Protocol Reaper wasn't just a military operation, it was a statement. "Confirmed, Commander. All units are green." Across the fleet, 200 specialized drop pods launched simultaneously. Inside each pod, human soldiers performed final equipment checks with practiced efficiency. They wore no powered armor like the Krell expected, no energy shields, just adaptive camouflage suits, neurally linked weapons, and something far more dangerous: human ingenuity paired with righteous fury. The pods struck Epsilon 7's surface like meteors, but by the time the Krell forces registered the impacts, the pods were already empty. Human soldiers had a saying that confused most alien species: "We're not trapped down here with you, you're trapped down here with us." Jasmine watched the tactical feeds from orbit. Kevin provided real-time analysis, his voice clinical despite the chaos unfolding below. "First contact in Sector 7. Krell forces are confused, they can't locate our troops." On the ground, Staff Sergeant Maria Chen moved through the enemy compound like a shadow. The Krell's thermal sensors were designed to detect large heat-generating targets. They'd never encountered a species that could lower their metabolic rate, move with absolute silence, and strike with surgical precision. She slipped past 3 Krell guards, placing microcharges on their ammunition stores with the care of a surgeon. 2 minutes later, she was half a kilometer away when the charges detonated, creating chaos in the Krell rear lines. The Krell commander barked orders, sending reinforcements to investigate the explosion. But that was exactly what Jasmine had predicted. Human warfare wasn't about brute force, it was about psychology, misdirection, and exploiting every weakness. Kevin's console lit up with new data. "Commander, the Krell are repositioning their forces away from the hostage compound." "Excellent. Signal Team 3 extraction protocol." Now, while the Krell were distracted by phantom attacks across the colony, a small team of humans did what seemed impossible. They infiltrated the hostage compound through the ventilation system, spaces too small for Krell to even consider, and began moving civilians through an underground tunnel network the humans had mapped using deep penetration sensors. The Krell commander realized his mistake too late. When his forces finally stormed the hostage compound, they found it empty except for a holographic message from Jasmine. "We warned you, ma'am," Kevin reported. "All 3,000 colonists are secure aboard rescue shuttles. 0 casualties." But Jasmine wasn't finished. The Krell had executed civilians. In human culture, some lines could never be uncrossed. "Kevin, activate Phase 2. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The human forces didn't simply defeat the Krell, they dismantled them with such precision that it seemed choreographed. Every communication relay, every supply depot, every command post was simultaneously neutralized. The Krell found themselves blind, isolated, and surrounded by an enemy they couldn't see. The Krell commander, his confidence shattered, transmitted an unconditional surrender within 6 hours. Not a single human soldier had been killed. Krell casualties were minimal. Humans had specifically targeted equipment and morale rather than lives. But the message was clear. When the Galactic Council reconvened, Ambassador Zarthik addressed the assembly with renewed understanding. The humans call themselves Special Forces, not because of their weapons or their ships, he explained, his crystalline form pulsing with emphasis. They are special because they can wage war with restraint, strike with precision, and choose mercy even when fury is justified. That is what makes them terrifying. Aboard the Valkyrie, Jasmine stood beside Kevin as they watched Epsilon 7 recede into the distance. The colony was already beginning repairs, its people safe. "Do you think they'll finally understand?" Kevin asked quietly. Jasmine considered the question. "Some will. Others will need reminding." She turned to face him, a slight smile crossing her features. "But that's why we're here. Someone has to be the galaxy's special forces." Kevin nodded, returning his attention to his console. Behind them, the vast machinery of human civilization continued its work, exploring, building, defending, not because they sought dominance, but because someone had to stand between the innocent and the darkness. The galaxy had learned its lesson once again. Pray you never face humanity's special forces. And if you do, pray they show you the mercy you likely don't deserve.